Hi Scorpio, and welcome to your horoscope for February 2025. Thanks for joining me. It's a pleasure to be with you today. My horoscopes are based on the UK time zone, and please watch them in this order: for your rising sign or your ascendant first, then for your sun sign, and finally for your moon sign. So I'm going to break February down into 4 weeks. I'm going to have a look at how the moon moves through your chart and how it supports you and on what days. So before I look at each week, February is a great month for stargazers. We have a planetary parade happening at the moment, which is 6 of the planets in our solar system have lined up in a straight line. And by the end of February, Mercury, the communication planet, joins that planetary parade so that we have 7 planets lined up. And the whole notion of astrology is based on this thought that as above, so below. So what the planets are doing up in the sky has an influence, and a direct influence on us down here on planet Earth. So the fact that we have a planetary parade means that you're able to see the end goal much more easily. You're able to make plans and actually follow through on those plans. And anything that seemed overwhelming or too complicated in the past will now seem very simple and straightforward. So, Scorpio, in February, please make big plans, revisit things that may not have worked in the past because they seem to be overly complicated. And by revisiting them now, you'll find that the whole process is much more streamlined for you. So, week 1, or the first 9 days of February, Saturday the 1st until Sunday the 9th of February. On the 1st, we have the moon in Pisces, in your 5th house of romance and what you love, both what you love to do work-wise and also who you love. So the 1st was a great day to really get clear on those two things. On the 2nd and 3rd of February, the moon goes into Aries, and it goes into your 6th house of daily routine and physical health, and it joins Chiron, the wounded healer, that's also in Aries, in that 6th house. So if there is anything that's unhealed in your physical body, do some research and you might find something new that actually works and helps. Or if there's something that's unhealed in your daily routine, as in you're doing too much or you're burning yourself out, look at how you can amend that and reschedule your day so that you're not overextending yourself. On the 4th, 5th, and 6th, the moon goes into Taurus, and it joins Uranus, the planet of the miraculous and unexpected and also chaotic, in your 7th house. So these 3 days are great for you to make new connections, and it's likely that someone comes into your life that you hadn't planned on coming in, and that is a welcome addition to your everyday life. So it could be a new friend or a new colleague that you really get on well with, or it could be a new romantic partner coming into your life without you doing very much. The thing about Uranus sitting in there, it's not down to you initiating these new connections, is that it's that they naturally come in without you planning for it or kind of even lifting a finger to make that happen. So expect something good by another person during that 3-day period. On the 4th of February as well, we have Venus, the planet of love and beauty and creativity, that ingresses into your 6th house of daily routine and your physical health, and it's in Aries. So that now means that not only are you able to heal something within your own system, but that you're able to start a new type of exercise or a new way of moving your body that strengthens you and that gives you a sense that you're doing something positive and healthy for yourself. Could also be committing to making changes to your appearance or your wardrobe or your diet, anything that is going to have a positive impact later on down the road. You're able to commit to it from the 4th onwards and then see it through. So, I mentioned the planetary parade. That's the kind of thing where you make the changes now and then you see the outcomes or the positive results further down the road, you're able to make a start with those kind of things from the 4th onwards. Also on the 4th, we have Jupiter, the lucky planet, that goes direct until the 11th of November 2025. So when a planet is retrograde, the influence is expressed inwardly. When it's direct, the influence is expressed outwardly. And it's in your 8th house of institutions and organizations, can also be the authorities. So that really serves you in applying for jobs or getting your foot in the door. So if you've been trying to get into, you've been trying to get a job at a particular company and it seemed impossible and the doors have been closed to you, look at those things again. You'll find that there may be an opening now. But also if you're in the process of selling a house, or you have legal situations going on, mediations, negotiations, if there are any negotiations that you're involved in, all of those things are going to be supported by Jupiter being in that location. And it sits there all month, but it also sits there until July. Let me just double check that, because I think in that kind of realm of officialdom, yes, it supports you until July. So if you have those kind of legal matters to deal with, or you have to get involved in the housing market or anything like that, Jupiter really supports you specifically as a Scorpio until July. So make the most of that. On the 7th and 8th, we have the moon then going into Gemini in your 8th. So those 2 days join Jupiter in the transiting ascendant. So it can be that you immediately find some sort of positive result in those kind of areas. And what I also want to mention is that Mercury, the communication planet, and Venus, the planet of love and beauty and creativity, they're direct all month. So I expect very few misunderstandings or difficulties with communication or transportation. And also, don't expect any roadblocks when it comes to starting new relationships or starting new businesses. Then on the 9th, the moon moves into Cancer and it stays in Cancer moving into week 2, also on the 10th of February. And the moon in Cancer joins Mars and Hades in Cancer, and they're all sitting up there in that 9th house of travel, education, and connecting to the higher realms. So you, Scorpio, particularly, if you're trying to have a spiritual breakthrough, these 2 days are very, very good for that. Also, if you are being dragged to kind of go visit a new place, either by friends or family members, or you have to go on a business trip to a place that you weren't particularly enthusiastic about visiting, expect something good to come out of that. And also, if you've been procrastinating on learning something new that would help you in your business or in your personal life, you'll find that you're able to overcome that inner resistance more easily, and you're able to just study the thing and get it over with and acquire that information which will help you. So in the first 9 days of February, the moon starts in your 5th house of romance and what you love, and it ends up in your 9th house of travel and education and broadening your horizons. So that's really the right-hand side of your chart. It's houses 5 and 6, and then the 3rd quadrant, which is houses 7, 8, and 9. So what you're supported in is acquiring things that you haven't got already, whether that's new relationships or new knowledge, or something lucky is presented to you via an organization or a company or an authority. You receive something that you haven't had in the first 9 days of February, and it's going to be something that's positive. Week 2, Monday to Sunday, the 10th to the 16th of February. On the 10th, we still have the moon in Cancer. Then on the 11th and 12th, it goes into Leo in your 10th house of work. So those 2 days are the best for you to put yourself in the spotlight, to present, to lead. If you are asking for investment or you're trying to get funding to get your own business off the ground, use these 2 days to put yourself out there as much as you can. You're going to make a good impression, and also being in the spotlight isn't going to make you nervous or cause you any anxiety. Particularly on the 12th, when we have a full moon in Leo, that's when that positive kind of leadership, I am in the spotlight kind of energy is at its peak. So if you can schedule in those kind of moments, those kind of meetings, do it on the 11th and 12th. Then the moon moves on into Virgo on the 13th, 14th, and 15th. The moon goes into Virgo in your 11th house of hopes and dreams. And that makes it really easy for you to identify what your hopes and dreams for the future actually are. So if you felt like you've been in a bit of a limbo state and you don't really know what matters to you, what's most important, these 3 days are going to allow you to identify what your hopes and dreams are. On the 14th, we've got Mercury ingressing into Pisces. So Mercury, the communication planet, moves into Pisces in your 5th house of what you love, and it joins Saturn and Neptune and the North Node. So one of the hopes and dreams that may appear is love and romance, as in if you're single, I want to be in a romantic relationship. But with all that Pisces energy in your 5th, you may be overly forgiving of other people's flaws, or you may overlook red flags if you're meeting new people. So just make sure that you're judging the situation objectively and you're not dismissing red flags, because, as you know, what usually happens is you ignore them initially and then they bite you in the behind later on. So avoid being overly forgiving if you notice certain things that make you incompatible with another person, instead of just brushing it aside or under the carpet. Then on the 14th of February, Valentine's Day, same thing. Most people don't go on first dates on Valentine's Day because it adds a lot of pressure. But in your case, I don't think it's the best idea, because the idea of love and romance is going to be very, very appealing to you, so that you have a tendency to make excuses, which is kind of unlike you, Scorpio, because you are very good at getting to the truth of the situation and using your intuition to identify what's beneath the surface. But here, especially during this middle of the month here in February on the 14th, you may be a little overly into romance and love, so that you may make excuses where usually you'd be quite decisive. On the 16th, the moon moves into Libra. And also in week 3, it stays in Libra on the 17th, and it goes into your 12th house of spirituality and spiritual strength. And that is a wonderful opportunity for any Scorpio who's trying to have a spiritual breakthrough or some sort of spiritual experience. So try something new. If you've never tried meditation or Tai Chi or listening to kind of spiritual music or doing anything along those lines that will give you a sense of connection, try them out during the 16th and 17th, and you may notice that you develop a genuine relationship to the higher realms that can serve you in future. Having a relationship to something bigger, to something that exists in the ethereal realms, it can provide a real sense of strength and support in life. You know, rather than doing everything on your own and based on your own self-will, you're able to check in with your higher self and feel whether the direction you're going in is right. And also it's nice to have that kind of belief in something and have faith in it, because it makes you feel like you're not completely on your own in your life. On the 16th, Venus, the planet of love and beauty, is going to be at its brightest. So that's the day where, if you're trying to make a new connection like that on a spiritual level, you'll find it easiest. So during week 2, the moon starts on the 10th in your 9th house of travel and education and broadening your horizons, and it ends in your 12th house of spirituality and spiritual strength. So we've got the 9th house, and then we've got the 4th quadrant. So there's the opportunity here in week 2 to transcend your current self by becoming more spiritually inclined and open to spiritual principles and to have an actual experience of a spiritual presence in your life. Week 3, Monday to Sunday, the 17th to 23rd of February. Moon still in Libra on the 17th. Then it moves into your sign of Scorpio on the 18th, 19th, and 20th. So those 3 days you'll feel most at home in yourself. There'll be a sense of ease. You've also got Vesta and Juno in Scorpio in that first house. So that might be a nice 3-day period to take off work, to just chill, to do things that you enjoy, maybe reading, going for walks, living the quiet life, and just contemplating what the future looks like, because you'll have a strong connection to your own intuition. There'll be an easy way of identifying what really provides you with a sense of security and happiness in life. So taking those 3 days to go on a little bit of a retreat or just to take time off for yourself may be a good idea. On the 18th of February, the Sun enters Pisces, and that goes into your 5th house. And again, you may be in love with love here in February, Scorpio. So just keep a kind of cool head around anyone new that you meet. And if you find yourself, you've gone on one date and you're already planning the wedding, then that might be a little too much of a good thing, and you may be going overboard. And just apply some common sense to that area of your life so that you don't cause yourself any difficulties moving forwards. The moon moves on into Sagittarius on the 21st and 22nd, and it goes into your 2nd house of money, and it opposes Jupiter, the lucky planet, in your 8th. So again, any negotiations, any requests for funding or investments, making changes to your work, asking for a pay rise, buying a house, selling a house, making big purchases, those 2 days are really good for it. Then on the 23rd, the moon moves into Capricorn, and it stays in Capricorn in week 4 on the 24th and 25th. But it moves into your 3rd house of communication. So if you're a Scorpio who works as a writer or is someone who works creatively through art or design, those are 3 days where you can be incredibly prolific and where you can do very good work. But also, if you need to make a public presentation, or if you need to put yourself in a public role where you're getting your point across, you'll find that kind of work very, very easy to do. On the 23rd of February, we have some more good news, because Mars, the planet of masculinity and drive, ambition, and what you're not willing to compromise on. And, before Pluto was discovered, Mars was your ruler. So Mars goes direct for the rest of the year. It was in retrograde for a long time, almost 3 months, from the 6th of December last year until the 23rd of February here. And it goes direct in your 9th house of travel, education, and the higher realms. It's in Cancer, a sign that it's not particularly happy being in, because Mars rules Aries. It's the first sign of the zodiac, and it's where Mars says, I'm going to use all my energy to bulldoze my way through obstacles, and I'm going to get what I want, right? In Cancer, it's forced to kind of take care of others or take care of circumstances. For you in your 9th, it means that you can use all of that energy to nurture and support yourself by traveling to places that you may enjoy visiting, to learn things which are important for your future, both in terms of what you know personally and what you know that can be applied in your working life. But it can also be just a willingness to see things differently and to change your perspective on certain things, which will then give you greater options in life. Week 3, the moon starts on the 17th in your 12th house of spirituality and spiritual strength, and it ends up in your 3rd house of communication. So that's the 12th house, and quadrant 1, houses 1, 2, and 3. So the 3rd week is really about letting the higher realms inform you and give you new information that you can then implement to produce work that is satisfying to yourself, and to make changes to your finances, and to have the courage to put yourself out there to make those changes in the first place. Week 4, Monday to Friday, the 24th to 28th of February. On the 24th and 25th, we still have the moon in Capricorn, so paint, write, perform. On the 26th, it goes into Aquarius, and that's a great opportunity to spend time with family and people who are in your most inner circle, and to let yourself be mentored and taught, and vice versa, to be there for other people and to provide spiritual guidance and counsel to people you love and care about. On the 27th and 28th, the moon then moves into Pisces, and we have a new moon in Pisces on the 27th. So the new moon, I'll make separate videos on the new moon and the full moon, but the new moon is when the moon is pitch black and it pulls in a ton of energy to charge itself up for its next 28-day cycle. And again, it's going to make you in love with love. So particularly on the 27th and 28th, watch out for, having a 5-minute conversation with someone and then being madly in love with them by the end of that 5 minutes. It may not be factually accurate, and that's the warning I would say in this month that contains Valentine's Day, not to be too enthusiastic and to throw caution to the wind when it comes to love and romance, but to maintain a little bit of common sense when it comes to those kind of things. I'm going into March here, but on the 1st of March, Venus, the planet of love and beauty and creativity, goes retrograde until the 12th of April. So that presents problems when it comes to starting new relationships and new business ventures. So in your case, really, if you have the idea for a new business, or starting your own company, or registering with company house or something like that, do it here in February. This is the best time to focus on work and to launch something of your own. So that's what I get for you here in February. I hope it gives you an idea of what you'll be working with. If you'd like a personal reading with me, please get in touch via my website. It's gregoryscott.com. To draw up your birth chart, I need your place of birth, date of birth, and time of birth. If you don't have the time of birth, that's not the end of the world. I can use sunrise. But there's also a process called chart rectification, where you send me 10 or more significant life events, and I can actually manually work out your time of birth, which obviously then makes the chart much more accurate. And once I have that in front of me, it's like a blueprint of who you are. It shows me what your vocational aptitudes are, what's destined in love and romance and travel and moving and spiritual development and anything at all, really. To look at what's coming up in future, I look at your progress chart, your transits, and I also can do a solar return chart around your birthday. It shows me what's happening from your birthday this year until your birthday next year, so that can be very useful. And if there's anything around location or moving, I look at the astrocartography, and that reverses this whole process. So a natal chart is me on Earth looking up. The astrocartography, I'm in the sky looking down on planet Earth, and how the different planets moved over different parts of the world, and how certain locations will influence you. Which ones are good for you specifically, and which ones are negative for you. So if you have any questions around moving to specific locations, please do get in touch with me for a personal reading. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, please, so it shows up in searches. Subscribe for more videos, and share the video online with anyone who you think may be interested in this information. That's what helps the channel grow. Have a fabulous February, and I'll speak to you soon. All the best.